My name's Dan Snow, and I'll be introducing you to a number of people and businesses along the way, all with first-hand experiences to share. The idea behind these reports is to provide you with a helpful overview of the topics as opposed to a fully comprehensive guide. Setting up a new business is a big move by anyone's standards, and choosing the right way forward is about finding out what's right for you and your personal circumstances. To help you think about this, let's take a brief look at the various options. Like many people, you might decide you want to become self-employed. But what exactly does this mean? Charles Armstrong sends us this report from Yorkshire.
One of the quickest and easiest ways of getting your own business going is to become self-employed. Mark Stanage did exactly that some 6 years ago, performing dangerous stunts to thrill audiences at events all across the country.
I've done car stunts, motorbikes, blown myself up in a coffin, explosions, climb up various towers or buildings and set fire to myself and come plummeting to the ground in ball of flames. It's quite a varied show.
I asked him what the main advantages were of being self-employed.
I love working for myself. I like the freedom to be able to do what I want, when I want, and not have somebody dictating to me, when I can work and when I can't work, It's nice being in charge of yourself.
And although Mark's a man who's prepared to take a risk, he definitely prefers to play it safe when it comes to his business.
When you become self-employed, it's very important to do everything by the book. The first thing that I suggest you do is contact Revenue and Customs and make them aware that you are self-employed, because if you don't, you do run the risk of a penalty.
And he's right to point this out. It's absolutely essential that you tell Revenue and Customs as soon as you start self-employment. Whatever type of business you set up, it's really important to keep your books in order and sort out your tax on time, especially as self-employed people like Mark pay their income tax and national insurance through self-assessment.
Also remember, you're always personally responsible for all your business debts no matter what. That means your earnings and assets, including your home if you own one, are all at risk if you get into unmanageable debt. However, if you're anything like Mark here, you'll have no problems looking after yourself. This is Charles Armstrong reporting. Now back to the studio.
Another sort of self-employment is to set up as a partnership, where two or more people work together. In this kind of business, all the partners are equally and personally responsible for the debts, and everyone has to sort out their own income tax on their share of the business profits. And of course, they also have to pay national insurance too, using the self-assessment system mentioned in the report. By the way, an interesting point worth making here is that self-employed people can also employ other people too if they choose to, and still be classed as self-employed. Another route you might want to consider is to set up a limited company. Limited is actually short for limited liability, meaning it's the company that's liable for the debts and not the individual owners. Charles Armstrong picks up the story again, this time from Scotland.
Since 2004, MB7 Limited has been leading groups of energetic cyclists across some of the most dramatic landscapes in the UK. As you can see, it's hard work, but it's certainly a rewarding experience you'll never forget.
Earlier this afternoon, I asked the founding director of this limited company how he went about setting it up.
Prior to doing MB7, I was a bicycle courier in Edinburgh, and I did loads of mountain biking with friends, and I wanted to get out of the city, get into the forests and run a business doing something that I loved doing, which was mountain biking. We dealt directly with Companies House and registered the company, but I realised that you can go to an agent and buy an off-the-shelf kind of company package.
MB7 consists just of two key people, Director Ian Withers and a company secretary. But you can have as many co-directors as you want or need, all of whom share the same legal obligations.
I'm a director, but also an employee of MB7, so I have to pay tax and national insurance just like any other employee of any other company, really. I still have to have a full payroll system in place to ensure we pay the right amount of tax.
And aside from this, you also have to pay corporation tax on the profits made by the company.
So, as you see, while setting up a limited company means you have less personal liabilities, there are other things you've got to do, such as managing tax and accounts, all of which can get quite complicated. So, it's a good idea to consult with an accountant or a solicitor before deciding what's the right choice for you.
Incidentally, if you're seriously thinking about setting up a limited company, you should take time to watch the video all about corporation tax, which is an additional liability you need to bear in mind. The other kind of business you might consider is a franchise. This is a business idea that someone else has already come up with, and you buy the right to operate a part of it. As you can imagine, this can get quite complex, so you should definitely get proper legal and financial advice before entering into an agreement on one of these. Okay, so there's some of the options you have for your new business. Now you can start thinking about which one best suits your plans and aspirations. At the same time, you might also be coming up with some ideas for a name for your venture too. Whatever kind of business you finally decide to go for, they all have to register for VAT once their sales reach the VAT threshold. All this and more is explained in detail in a separate video all about VAT, and it would probably be a good idea to watch that at some stage. I'll be there too, of course, helping to guide you through.